Hi everyone, Dimitris here, back again with a new video. Today I will show you step by step how to build an automated workflow that will allow you to create new Zoom meetings directly from a Notion database. So if you're like me and manage your entire life using Notion, you might have a database somewhere in your workspace that contains information about your Zoom meetings. Wouldn't it be cool if this database could also trigger the creation of new meetings? That's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. So here I am inside my Integromat dashboard. Integromat will be the workflow automation builder that I'm going to use for this tutorial. You can sign up for a free account at dimitriskamaritis.com/Integromat. I'm going to put the link in the description. But once you create your account, all you have to do is just click on this create a new scenario button here. Click skip. And here we are inside our scenario builder. So a scenario is basically where our automation will live. Now, before I start defining my workflow here, I want to head to Notion. So as you can see here, I have a new page called Home. And what I'm going to do is create my database. This is where I'm going to store all my meeting information. So I'm actually going to add a new database. So I'm going to scroll down to the database section right here. And I'm going to select the table view, right? So all these right here are different views for a database. And I'm going to select the table one because it will allow us to easily see all the information. With that said, you can also choose the calendar view if that's something you prefer. But for now, yeah, I'm just gonna stick to table. So now I'm going to give this database a name. I'm going to call it meetings. And the first thing I'm going to do is define my property fields right here. So the first one I'm going to call topic, right? So this is the topic of the meeting, or in other words, the name of the meeting. And then the next thing I want to have is a checkbox property, and I'm going to call this scheduled. So the idea here is that whenever I tick this checkbox right here, I want the workflow automation to be triggered, right? Or in other words, I want the Zoom meeting to be automatically created, right? That's why I want to have this checkbox right here. Then I'm going to add a date field, and I'm gonna make sure that this is of type date. So this is when my my meeting will be scheduled, and I can actually click on this format date option right here and select to include the time, right? So a meeting will have a date and it will also have a start time. So this is important right here. And then I also want to have a property of a property that I'm going to call duration, and this will be a property of type number. So this will be the duration of the meeting in minutes, right? And then I want to have another property called agenda. This will be of type text, and this is basically the description of the meeting, right? Finally, I want to have a field called start URL. This will be of type URL. And this will be the URL, the link that you can click in order to start the meeting. Similarly, we're also going to have a property called join URL, and this will be the URL I can send to the person I'm going to have the meeting with, right? So anyone who you want to any participants that you want to have on the meeting, just send them this link. Finally, I want to have actually, yeah, that's it. So those are the properties I need. So that's my database created with all its properties. Now the next thing I need to do is define an automation that whenever I go here, so let me just delete these for now. There we go. So whenever I go here and I create a new meeting, so let's say I call this meeting with John. I add the date. Let's say I want to have it on the 11th of June. I also include the time, so I want to have it at 1 p.m. The duration will be 40 minutes. and then the agenda can be something like this is an example meeting. So whenever I create a new meeting just like that, and then I check this checkbox right here, I want the automation to be triggered and to create a new Zoom meeting, right? So what I have to do here is add the Notion app. So I'm going to search for the Notion app. As you can see, there it is. I'm going to click on it. And then here are all the different modules that this Notion app has, or in other words, the different actions that I can perform with this, with the Notion API, right? So I'm going to choose this Watch Database Items module right here, which will basically monitor my database for new changes. So I'm going to click on it to add it to my scenario, and this will load the configuration window. Now, the first thing you want to do in the configuration window is define a connection. So a connection is what will allow Integromat to have access to your Notion, to a particular Notion page, right? So the way I'm going to do this is you're just going to click there on the add button, enter a connection name of your choice. This can be anything you want, and then click continue. This is going to open a new window. And all you have to do here is just click on allow access, right? Just click on that, and that will establish your connection. Now, I'm not going to do that because I already have a connection, as you can see right here. Now, another thing you want to do is go to your Notion page right here, click on the share button, and then let me just delete this real quick. Okay, click on this field right here, and then select your Integromat integration, right? You're going to select that and then click invite. So what this means is that this my Integromat now has access to this page right here, and it can basically read and edit the data on this page, and it also means that it can edit the data on my database right here. So that's my connection fully established. Now the next thing I need to do is define how I would like to monitor these items, and I'm actually going to choose this this create a time option right here, because my goal is to execute this scenario right here, execute this automation every time there is a new meeting added to the database, right? Every time there's a new meeting created in the database. So that's the option I need. Then I need to select the database I want to monitor, which is called meetings, as you can see right here. And finally, I need to enter the limit, or in other words, enter the number of new meetings I would like to retrieve each time this scenario is executed. So what this means is, if let's say I create 50 new meetings, and then this scenario gets executed, if the limit is set to 2, it will only retrieve 2 of those meetings, right? So what I suggest you do here, I mean, it really depends on how many meetings you're planning on creating within a short period of time, but I just like to set this number pretty high. You know, it doesn't really make a difference, but this will mean that I will retrieve all the meetings every single time. So so yeah, that's my module created. That's my first module configured. Here I will just select all, and now I will go ahead and test it. So if I run this scenario, if I just click on this run once button, as you can see, the module has been successfully executed. And then in order to see what kind of data this module was able to retrieve, I can just click on this bubble icon right here. And as you can see, it has retrieved one bundle. Now a bundle is basically a result, right? So it has retrieved one result, and that makes sense because on my database here I only have one new page, one new item, right? So that makes sense, and I can check what which meeting this is by clicking on this property values data element right here, collection right here, and then under the topic, as you can see, the plain text says meeting with John, right? So I know that this whole thing right here is the data for this meeting, right? Great. So my module works as expected. Now the next thing I want to do is actually create this meeting with Zoom. So what I'm going to do is add a new module. I'm going to click on this plus icon to add a new module, and I'm going to search for the Zoom app. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to choose the create a meeting module, right? Because that's what I want to do. Create a new meeting. Now, on the configuration window here, once again, the first thing you want to do is establish a connection with your Zoom account. This is actually super easy. All you have to do is click add, enter a connection name. So this can be anything you want. I'll just select Zoom connection, click continue. And I'm already logged into Zoom inside my browser, so this should happen very quickly. There you go. Right, so make sure before you do this process, you're already signed in to your Zoom account. As you can see right here, I'm signed in. So, so yeah, the connection is now established. Now the next thing I need to do is select my user ID. So this is basically this is myself on the Zoom account. So I think Zoom allows you to have multiple users under the same account. So I need to make sure that I select my account since I'm scheduling meetings for myself. Then for the topic now, this is where I need to enter the topic of the meeting, right? This is the field. However, the problem I have here is that I can't go in and enter something like meeting with John. The problem here is that if I enter that, every single meeting that is created will have this topic, right? This is called a static value. It never changes. So even though it will work for this meeting right here, which has that as a topic name, if I go ahead and create a new meeting called, let's say, meeting with Mike, right? When this workflow automation gets executed, the meeting topic will still be meeting with John, right? Therefore, I need to find a way to pass data from this module right here, which retrieves all the data from the meeting page that I have right here on my database. I need to get the data from this module and pass it on to this module. And I can achieve that with a process called data mapping. So as you can see, when I click on one of these fields right here, I get this window on the side. And all these right here are data elements retrieved from this module. As you can see, if I just hover over one of these data elements, the Notion module starts flashing, which means that this is data retrieved from that module, right? And what I can do is just click on one of these in order to add it to that field. So for topic, for topic, the data I want to add can be found under this property values collection right here. As you can see, I click to open it. And then there is a data element called topic. Now, if I click on this collection, I need to select the plain text data element. So yeah, this now means that whatever data this module retrieves, it will be passed on to this field right here. So if the meeting topic is meeting with John, then this will say meeting with John. If it's meeting with Mike, then it will say meeting with Mike, right? I hope you get the idea. Now for the type, I'm going to select a scheduled meeting because I want to schedule these meetings for the future. And that opens up a new field called start time. So this is where I'm going to be, this is where I want to add this data element right here called date, right? So I have the date and the time, and that's going to be the start time, right? So here I'm going to select the date data element. I'm going to click on that little collection to open it, and then I'm going to map the start data element. So this contains both the date and the time, and that's exactly what I need here. Now for the time zone, make sure to select the correct time zone. For this example, I will just choose the default one, which is UTC. And then for the duration in minutes, I need to map the duration data element from my Notion database. So I'm going to click on this field, and then under the properties value, I'm going to select this duration data element. That's it. And finally, for agenda, I'm going to select the agenda data element collection here. I'm going to open it and then choose the plain text data element. Perfect. Finally, for this schedule for user ID option, I'm going to deselect this map option here, and I'm going to select my user once again, right? So this is who I want to schedule the meeting for. And that's pretty much it. Now, once the meeting is successfully created, the next thing I want to do is actually update some of the fields that I have on this property fields that I have on my database. So as you can see, we have a property called start URL and join URL, right? So the start URL is the URL that you can click on to start the meeting, and the join URL is the URL you can send to your participants in order to join that meeting. However, these values right here, I'm not able to enter them myself, right? Because they are generated once the meeting is created, right? Therefore, this module right here, when it gets executed and it creates the meeting, it will send back those two values, right? It will send back those two values. However, I need to find a way to actually add them to my Notion database here. And the way I'm going to do that is by attaching a new module. This is going to be under the Notion app, and it will be the update a database item module, right? So I'm going to click on this, and as the name of this module suggests, it's basically used to update an existing database item, right? So here, as you can see, the first thing I need to do is select my my database from the list. Now what I need to do next is enter the ID of the database item I want to update, right? So every item in my database has a unique ID. Therefore, I need to enter it right here so the module knows which one of those items I want to update. However, once again, I'm not able to do this process manually because every time this scenario is executed, I will be updating a different item, right? Therefore, I need to map the database item right here. Now, I'm going to have to map it from this module right here because this is the one that retrieves that meeting, that database item we're creating a new meeting for, right? So I'm going to scroll down to this to the data elements of my first module. As you can see, it's flashing right there, and I'm going to map the database item ID, right? So this is the item that this module has retrieved, and that's also the item I want to update, right? So that's what I need to do right there. And then finally, these are all the fields that all the property fields that I can update. However, the only two fields that I want to update is the join URL and the start URL, right? So for the join URL, once again, I'm going to be doing some data mapping. So as you can see here, I have a list with all the data elements retrieved from this module right here. And if you look closely, I have a data element called join URL. So this is the URL created, the URL generated once the meeting is created. So I can just map this there. Perfect. And then for the start URL, I can map the start URL from the list. Perfect. And that's it, right? Those are the two things I need to update. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to auto align my scenario. There we go. And finally, I'm going to save it. Great. So that's my scenario ready. So now let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to go ahead and so we have a meeting with Mike. So this is a new meeting that I created earlier. I'm going to say that this meeting will be scheduled for the 15th of June. I'm going to include the time, and I'm going to say that I want to schedule it for 3 p.m. There we go. The duration will be 20 minutes, and I'm going to say that this is another example meeting, right? Finally, I'm going to make sure that this is checked. Perfect. So now if I go ahead and execute this scenario, first of all, let's see what should happen. Let's see what we're expecting. So this meeting right here has already been retrieved by the Notion module, because if you remember earlier, I executed this module alone, and it has retrieved that that first meeting. Therefore, it's not going to retrieve it again, because I set this module to only retrieve newly created items, right? So if once I go ahead and execute the scenario now, it will retrieve the second meeting, right? Because it hasn't already retrieved that before. It will now retrieve the second meeting, and if everything goes as planned, it will create a new meeting with Zoom, and then it will update the start URL and join property fields right here with the new values. So I'm going to go ahead and execute it. And there we go. The scenario was successfully executed. So I'm going to first of all check my database here. And as you can see, the start URL and join URLs are now here. Now what you can do if you don't want to have this huge URL taking up your space, you can click on these three dots here and then deselect this wrap cells option. And as you can see, it no longer takes up the space. Finally, what I need to check is that on my Zoom account here, if I reload the page, there is a new meeting created. There we go. So meeting with Mike. The time is a little bit different because I selected my time zone to be UTC. However, if you select the correct time zone inside your Zoom module, as I showed you earlier, so if you select the correct time zone here, then this will be correct. So yeah, there you have it. So my Notion database now has the start URL, the join URL. I can go ahead and send this to the person I want to have the meeting with, right? And that will launch the Zoom meeting. And whenever I'm ready to start the meeting, I will just click on the start URL here to start the meeting. So there you have it. I hope you found this tutorial useful and you now know how to create Zoom meetings without leaving your Notion workspace. If you're serious about time efficiency and want to become a master at building this type of workflow automations with Notion and the Notion API, make sure to check out my step-by-step course called Notion Automation Mastery, which I will link in the description below. Other than that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the new Notion automation videos that I will be releasing. Hit the like button if you found this video useful, and let me know in the comments below what you think of Notion and what are some of the workflows you would like to automate with it. With that said, I will see you on the next video.